Would you like to join me for a tea party today? I have made some cinnamon tea today. It's a little chilly out there. The wind is blowing. It's blustery. So I thought cinnamon tea sounded like a good choice to warm us up from the inside. A little spice in there. So I'm gonna pour myself a cup of cinnamon tea. Do you have a guest joining you for tea today? Remember when we invite someone to a tea party, we serve our guests first. Tea first. Did you make any treats for our tea party today? I have some shortbread cookies here. I like shortbread with my tea. Dip it in the tea, soaks up that cinnamon a little bit. I think it tastes pretty good. So I'm going to save my treat for later, but I will take a sip of the cinnamon tea. I thought at our tea time today, we could talk about poetry and what poetry is, how to make a poem, what is a poem. And so I thought we would go to an expert today, or maybe somebody that I like to reference. So I found Fancy Nancy, poet extraordinaire. And I think Fancy Nancy is pretty great. She has a great big vocabulary with lots of fun words, which is what I really like about her. So I thought we would read a few pages out of Fancy Nancy today. We're not going to read every page of this book. We're going to kind of skip around, but there's some fun stuff, so let's get started. Bonjour, everybody. I think poetry is sensational. That's fancy for really, really terrific. Even the word poetry sounds so beautiful and fancy to me. Every day my teacher, Ms. Glass, reads our class a poem. My favorites are the funny ones. We are also writing our own poems. My best friend, Bree, wrote one about hiccups. You can read it. Bree is very creative, which is fancy for full of imagination. Love, Nancy Clancy. My name rhymes, so I'm naturally poetic, right? And she actually has Fancy Nancy Clancy. She has 3 rhymes with her, I think. So we're going to go skip some pages here and find out what they do in Fancy Nancy Clancy's class to celebrate poetry. And it's something that I would like to do in our class when we get back. So this is their poet tree. It says, today we make a poet tree in our classroom. Get it? Poet tree sounds like poetry. Each paper leaf will have a poem that we composed. To compose something means you wrote it yourself. We're going to read our poems on Family Day. I haven't written mine yet. I want it to be great. Fancy Nancy hasn't written her poem, but her classmate Robert wrote one. Let's see what Robert has to say in his poem. It's called Pizza Pie by Robert. Peter eats a lot of pizza. That's it. Peter eats a lot of pizza. It's simple, it's short, it's fun. And a poem can be simple, short, and fun. It doesn't have to be long, right? And this is what Miss Glass, Fancy Nancy's teacher, has to say about Robert's poem. Robert, I like how your first line puts 2 words together to rhyme with pizza. Did you know that 2 lines of poetry are called a couplet? Couplet. You know, couple is 2, so a couplet is 2 lines in a poem. 2 lines of poetry. Can you say couplet? Couplet. And here's Bree's poem, which Nancy talked about in the beginning of the book. Let's see what Bree has to say. Horrible hiccups, by Brie. Hic, hic, hiccups. Make my tummy jump in and out. I hold my breath till I turn red. It didn't work. I hate hiccups. So her poem didn't really rhyme, but it was about feeling and how she's feeling. And poetry is a great way to express yourself. It's kind of like writing a song. It's a great way to get our feelings out. So Brie is getting her feelings out about how she feels about those hiccups through her poetry. And Clara, they do a fun poem with Clara. You write the letters in a column for your first name, the letters of your first name in a column. And for each letter, you think of a word that describes something about you. Here's Clara's. I'm going to show you a little bit closer here. You can see Clara. And she says, cookie crazy, lovable, artistic, runny nose. She must have been sick when she wrote this poem. And American Clara. So that's a fun one. It's a name poem. You can describe yourself in just a few lines. Go. Okay, and we're going to skip a few pages, but I think I need a sip of my tea. I hope everybody is enjoying your tea at home, serving your guests, right? What kind of treats are you having? Did you bake something special for the tea party? I have cookies, Girl Scouts. It's one of the shortbread cookies that I mentioned that I like to very carefully dip my cookie in my tea just for a second, just to get a little of that tea flavor on my cookie. Okay, I think I'm ready to get skipping some pages here. And we're going to go to the end of the book where Fancy Nancy has some of her favorite poems that her classmates wrote. So this is a fun one. It's called, Picking Berries by Douglas. Picking berries is very fun, very, very merry fun, extraordinary fun, cherry, cheery, berry fun. And that one's kind of a tongue twister. Tongue twisters are hard to say, especially if you say them fast. They twist up your tongue, and sometimes you mess up all the words. So let's see, maybe I can say it a little faster. Do you think I can do it? Okay. Picking berries is very fun, very, very merry fun, extraordinary fun, cherry, cheery, berry fun. Just made it. That was fun. Okay, and this is another one on the next page here called First Snow. You can see all the snowflakes around this one. This is called First Snow by Marie. Snow makes whiteness where it falls. The bushes look like popcorn balls, and places where I always play look like somewhere else today. I like that one. That's a rhyming poem. She's observing her surroundings. It makes me use my imagination to think. I'm thinking about the school right now, and when it snows, and the white snow covering the farm, the playground, covers the grass and the bushes, and it makes our school look extra magical. It kind of sparkles everywhere, right? So that poem jogged a memory, made me think of something. Okay. I could see somebody at our school writing this one. This one is called Pollywog School by Arnold. Underneath the lily pads, where the mud is cool, many little pollywogs swim their way to school. We go to class each day, said one, and all we do is wiggle. We do not read. We do not write. We only squirm and giggle. We've got a lot of squirming and giggling going on in our class sometimes. And this is the last one for the Fancy Nancy book. And we saved the silliest one for last. So if you're taking a sip of your tea, make sure you swallow it before we start this one because it might make you giggle, might make you laugh a little bit. It's called As Soon as Fred Gets Out of Bed by Jack. As soon as Fred gets out of bed, his underwear go on his head. His mother laughs, "Don't put that there. A head's no place for underwear." But near his ears, above his brains, is where Fred's underwear remains. At night when Fred goes back to bed, he deftly plucks it off his head. His mother switches off the light and softly croons, "Good night, good night." And then, for reasons no one knows, Fred's underwear goes on his toes. So really, poems can be about anything. They can be silly. They don't have to make a lot of sense. They can make people laugh. I like the ones that make me laugh. And we're going to read the last page of this Fancy Nancy book here. She says, "I wish I had a poem about a tea party, because I have tea parties all the time with my doll Maribel Lavinia Chandelier. As soon as I find one I really like, I'll add it to my collection." Well, Fancy Nancy, I think that's a great idea to make a poem about a tea party. I also really, really like the idea of a poet tree. So I thought it would be fun for us at home to make our own poems on leaves. And then when we go back to class, when we're back at school, we can make a tree and we can hang up our poem leaves and we can make our own poet tree at school. So I have some leaves here that I printed out and I cut out, and I'll make sure the parents get these leaves templates as well. And let's see, one thing to do when you're starting to think about a poem is one, to think about what you want to make the poem about, and then think about words that rhyme together. I like rhyming poems. So we're going to write a poem about a tea party, and so maybe we can think of some words that rhyme with tea. Let's see. Tea, knee, sea, tree, free, bee. Have you thought of other ones? I think that's a good start though. So let's see here. I'm going to get my leaf and let's see. I'm going to start it with, I like to drink tea. I like to drink tea. Tea, bee, me, me. I like to drink tea, especially when I have my friends with me. That's perfect. Okay. I like to drink tea, especially when I have my friends with me. So it's nice and short like the pizza poem, but it's to the point and I think it's nice. I like to drink tea, especially when I have my friends with me. And I also wanted to try the name poetry. I think that's a really fun idea, and we can describe ourselves with words that start with the letters of our first name. So Jessica is kind of a long name, 7 letters, so I'm going to shorten it to Jess. So a nice little nickname. So okay. Just the first letters of my first name there. And now I have to think of a word that starts with ja, that describes me. How about jolly, happy, jolly? Teacher Jessica's pretty jolly most of the time. Okay, jolly, and then word that starts with F. How about entertaining? I hope I'm entertaining, keeping all those little eyes on me. Entertaining. Okay. Then I have two letter sounds, two words to think of. How about, Jessica's pretty silly, right? Get some silly songs going. I like to get some silly dance moves. I like to have some fun. Okay, my next. One more. What about, how about silent? That's kind of a strange one. Silly and then silent, but my class knows that I like to practice silence, right? We turn off the lights, we light our candle, we get our sand timer, and we sit there in silence and listen, feel present, right? So I like to celebrate silence just as much as I like to be silly. So I think that's great. So Jess, jolly, entertaining, silly, and silent. So I will get those leaf templates to your parents so we can all create our own poems, and then when we get back to school we can make our own poetry and we can see what everybody was doing when we worked together, right? Getting close to the bottom of my cup. How's everybody else doing with their tea? Good? Okay. I have one more thing that I'd like to share with you today. Just a little poem to end our party, but I thought it was really nice. And it's from a book that has really old poems in there, like over 100 years old. So they've been around for a while. And this is a nice short one, but I really like it and I'd like to share it with you. It's called Happy Thought. The world is so full of a number of things. I'm sure we should all be as happy as kings. And that's it. The world is so full of a number of things. I'm sure we should all be as happy as kings. There's a lot of changes going on right now. We're not at school together, but there's still a lot of things to be happy about. So it's important to always look around, and even the small things we can still be happy about and find happy things in our life. And I'm happy to have shared a tea party with you today. Let's see, I have my last sip of tea here. I hope to see you next week for our poetry tea party.